Ancient Greece, an age-old civilization founded in blood. Some of the most epic battles in history were fought here. And at their heart was a brutal fighting style thought lost for almost 2,000 years. A martial art so vicious that its practitioners would rather fight to the death than admit defeat. In ancient Greece, even the philosophers were fighters. Socrates himself was a soldier and may have trained in the battlefield precursor to Pankration. In the Greek armies, every soldier had to buy his own armor and his own weapons, but thousands of soldiers just couldn't afford even the most basic equipment. So their only choice became unarmed combat to the death. Spartan soldiers had to train in Pankration for 23 fanatical years, starting at the age of 7. They were such serious fighters, they boycotted the Olympics because eye gouging and biting were forbidden.
Instead, Spartan soldiers used their unique form of pankration for just one thing: to kill an opponent on the battlefield. In ancient warfare, two lines of armored soldiers would meet in a clash of shields. In the chaos of battle, it was all too easy to lose both your weapon and your footing, and find yourself on the ground. But because of the armor, strikes were of limited use, so the Spartans developed other killer moves.
So I guess this would pretty much break his neck, huh?
Exactly.
Perhaps Sparta's most famous battle took place in 480 BC. Just 300 Spartan soldiers fought a heroic last stand in Thermopylae against an invading army of an estimated 200,000 Persians. With over 600 Persians for every Spartan soldier, these were impossible odds. But unbelievably, they held out for 3 days, and when they lost their swords and shields, all they had left was Pankration. The brutality and strength of the Spartans has never been forgotten, and continues to inspire soldiers to this day. They didn't call him great for nothing. By the age of 33, he'd conquered pretty much every country in the civilized world. His soldiers would have trained in the Greek martial art of Pankration and brought their knowledge with them as they conquered. Some historians credit Alexander with spreading Pankration to India following his invasion in 326 BC. From India, Buddhist monks may have brought aspects of the art to China, which in turn planted the seed for all Asian martial arts, including Kung Fu, Karate, and Muay Thai. Though Pankration may have been born in war, it found its greatest fame as a sport. Soon after the Greeks founded the Olympic Games in 700 BC, Pankration moved from the battlefield to the stadium. Beneath the city's famed Temple of Zeus, we met Dr. Emmanuel Mixagianakis, who tells us the story of the so-called heavy games at the Olympics. So why did they call them the heavy games?
Because there were no weight requirements, and the heaviest, most powerful were the first in the sport.
Did you hear that? That okay?
Whatever, Bill. Everything would stop for the games, including war. Thousands of spectators would gather from all over the Greek world to watch the brutal fights. One fighter from Sicyon was nicknamed Fingertips because he'd start each fight by breaking his opponent's fingers. Strictly a man-only event, any woman caught even watching the Olympics was thrown off a cliff.
The games were sometimes blood events. They were very dangerous. Death was not excluded. But the champions were crowned with laurel leaves, and they had their names written in stone pillars.
MMA fighters and other martial artists today use the signal of tapping out to show their submission to the opponent. And it was here in the Olympic Pankration fights that a form of tapping out was invented.
But it was considered the greatest humiliation a fighter could face, and many chose to die rather than end the bout in disgrace. The most common cause of death in these Olympic fights was suffocation caused by fighters in chokes refusing to tap out. We quickly realized pankration wasn't just about moves. It was about preparing your body for battle. To do that, Aris plunged us right into an ancient Greek conditioning routine. This was like nothing we'd experienced in the gym. No weights, no treadmills, just the tools used by fighters more than 2,000 years ago.
First, we drilled with a 150-pound log to bulk up our shoulder and back muscles. After that, we bench pressed each other's dead weight for 50-rep intervals.
Everybody gets your turn. Nobody bows out. Let's go. Move.
No, don't bow out, Chambers.
So you're how many pounds? 3,412?
Let's go. Put it up.
Needless to say, this was a little easier for me than for Jason.
9. Come on. Come on. Push. Up. Come on, Jason. Up. Push. Push. Come on, Jason. Push him. Push him. Push him up. Push. Push. Push.
Nice.
What'd you think of that exercise?
It's like bench pressing a pickup.
Then we had a 5-mile run across the rocky terrain around the castle's perimeter.
Let's go. Pick it up. Pick it up.
It was a hell of a warm-up. But Aris reminded us that endurance was key to becoming a true Greek athlete.
There's something that in the Greek world we call the inner pneuma. And that is when you got to reach deep down inside and you got to be able to bring that innermost deep energy that you've got out. So you got to be able to work while you're exhausted. It's when you're exhausted that you can determine whether or not you're a good fighter.
And so the training continued. To perfect our coordination and strengthen our punches, we hurled 15-pound stones, deadlifted 200-pound urns, shin kicked and elbowed logs wrapped in twine,
17, 18, 19, 20.
and pounded sacks of sand, pushing our bodies to the limit to prepare ourselves for the punishment of full-contact pankration.
Nice and smooth, very good.
I'm more sore today than I have ever been working out at a gym. I'm sore in places I didn't know I could be sore.